Welcome back. For some time now, CNN has been bringing you the growing fallout from allegations of China's human rights abuses. And just yesterday, a heartbreaking investigative report revealed Uyghur children being ripped apart from their families. We're now in an exclusive interview with our own Christiane Amanpour. The Chinese ambassador to the US denies that story and lashes out at CNN. Take a listen.
Frankly, there has been so much fabrication so far. So I cannot.
But you know that that's not fabricated, Ambassador, right?
It's very.
You know
unfortunate.
that that's not fabricated.
It's very unfortunate. I think it's very unfortunate. It's immoral to take advantage of any particular family situation and manipulate. This is not true journalism. It's very unfortunate for CNN.
Well, Helena Kennedy is a human rights lawyer and one of the British lawmakers just sanctioned by the Chinese government. She joins us now from London. Good to have you with us. I would first like to get your reaction to what we just heard, which is very much in line with China calling the reports on human rights that we've seen with satellite images, etc., fake reports.
Well, that has been China's response to most of the evidence that's come forward. And when we speak about what is taking place towards the Uyghur in Xinjiang province. So it doesn't come as any surprise. Those sort of denials and allegations against us that we are inventing these accounts is a constant. And it's very interesting to hear the ambassador saying how immoral it is. I mean, the real moral outrage is what is happening to the Uyghur people.
And the UK, of course, placed sanctions on people in China who appeared to be complicit in these human rights violations. As a result, China retaliated, sanctioning several organizations and 9 individuals, including yourself, a human rights lawyer. Did you expect this kind of retaliation?
Well, I wasn't surprised because I'm part of an international alliance of parliamentarians who are really raising these issues about abuses of human rights at the hands of China, and so when I saw that there were sanctions being taken against, for example, a Green politician in Germany, I thought it was quite possible that this would happen. And it shouldn't. Tit for tat is a regular thing in foreign relations, as you know. But what is shocking is that we have been. I'm a lawyer, and so I do this on an evidence basis. And we've been looking at what has been happening in the province for some time now. I've been receiving evidence directly from exiles, from women who've managed to get out, and the evidence of rape is very clear. Evidence of children being separated from their parents and sent off to sort of remand homes where they're going to be re-educated and deracinated, basically taken away from their religion and their culture. We've got evidence of forced labor, we've got evidence of torture. This evidence has been coming forth, and it is largely reliable evidence. And we also have the drone evidence, which shows that mosques have been destroyed, that burial grounds have been destroyed. So there is a continuing process of evidence being placed in the public domain, and much of it is really credible evidence. And so I'm not surprised. I have been very vocal in my criticisms, and in Parliament I have been raising the issue of the problem that we have. There's a catch-22, which is that China has not signed up to the International Criminal Court's jurisdiction. It has presented a reservation in the International Court of Justice on being brought before that court if it breaches human rights. And so there's no place. It enjoys impunity. And we have a duty to speak out. And I don't want us to stop having conversations with China. The people of China are people like all of us who I suspect want to have a world which is respectful of human rights and where there is peace and justice. So we've got to keep this conversation going. But as China becomes a grander and greater power in the world and is walking the world in great clarity, I think we've got to be saying there is a rules-based world and you're breaking the rules.
So with that all in mind, what is the next step? Because clearly you do have clear and convincing evidence of human rights violations, which you've taken us through, a genocide against a minority people in China. And now this tit for tat in terms of sanctions. What's the next step?
Well, I mean, it is difficult. And I think that what one was hoping was that by having sanctions against some of the leading figures in China, though we haven't gone to the very top, you know, with the sanctions regime, the targeted sanctions of Magnitsky Law, but we should do. And I think that it's about trying to draw China to the table to say, we want to trade with you. We want to work with you on climate change. You are a force that could be a great force for good in the world, but you have to, you know, be protecting and preserving human rights. And there's historically good reason for us doing this, because we know that we can't be bystanders when these things are happening. We learned that from the Holocaust. We've learned it from other genocides that have happened even in the last 50 years. And so we've got to make sure that when these things are happening, that we don't remain silent and don't allow our voices to be silenced. Trading is important, but it must take a secondary position to crimes of this magnitude.
And in terms of the way this is unfolded with sanctions, China claims that the UK imposed unilateral sanctions. That's despite the fact that we saw sanctions imposed by the US and the EU. That was obviously an intentional misrepresentation. Why do you think China would do that?
Well, we've got to remember that targeted sanctions are comparatively new in the way that they're being used now. It's about giving teeth to international law, because places like China just will not ever be brought before an international court. And so what other things can be done? And rather than actually punishing a whole nation of people, which we know can often impoverish people, can often have dire consequences for the citizen who's got no power in all of this, is to go after the people who are powerful. Many Chinese leaders, those who are in the leading positions, have properties in Manhattan, in London. They have assets which are outside of the country. They enjoy visiting regularly to our capitals. And so having visa bans, having asset bans matters. Now, an asset ban has been put on me, and a visa ban so that I can't go to China. That's a regret to me, because I like visiting China and meeting with people who I think do share many of our values. But what I can tell you now is I have no assets in China. I have no financial interests in China. And so the sanctioning of me doesn't really make very much difference. And it's certainly not going to have a chilling effect of stopping me denouncing what I see before me in evidence of serious crimes against humanity and possibly genocide.
Helena Kennedy, human rights lawyer, good to have you with us. Thanks so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's fair to say it has been an emotional last few days for a Swedish superstar. The footballer is back on the international stage. Why? Even without scoring, you can be sure he's still making headlines. We'll have that story coming up next on World Sport.